Alright guys, I got quite a bit of updates since last time. I've been working on this thing. I've had a pretty tight schedule at work, so that's why I haven't posted. But I have been working on a red rocket. Like I said in the previous videos, what I was gonna do next was mock up the front end. So I can wire up the whole front end, finish wiring up the engine, and everything is installed now. So I pretty much ran all the wiring, from the bulkhead at the firewall all the way through. And the reason I did that was because I didn't know where a lot of wires were gonna land, because I hadn't really just set my wire harness on, and I didn't know what was gonna be where, and I didn't want to go and paint the fenders and paint the hood and paint everything, and then I'll have to take something off, or I don't know. I just like test fitting everything. I've done it constantly with this car from the beginning, whenever it was just a frame in the body, doing the cutouts for the battery rack. It's been constant, on and off. So these fenders are on, my fender wells are on. So what I wanted to do was just run my wiring and tuck everything as much as possible, and I was able to do that. I left the air box off and the filter, which is in that pile right there. And the reason I did that was because I wanted to show y'all where I run the computer and everything. So this wire harness, the computer is inside the engine compartment. So it's pretty much in the stock location, like a Silverado 2014 and up Silverado with the Gen 5 LT engine. So as you can see right here, I have these wires. This is the main wire harness that comes down here to the bottom of the alternator, and it comes right there to the computer. So this is the PCM for the car. It actually tucks under the air box and then under the filter, so you can't really see it. I was able to run all the wires pretty much right behind this fender into the firewall inside the car, and it worked out pretty good. So a little bit on the intake. So they obviously don't sell a pipe for a 64, or much less for the Gen 5 swap. So I was looking at the Silverado cold air intakes, and I got the measurements and everything, and this is actually off of a 2014 to 2018 Silverado Gen 5 LT. And actually it's supposed to mount on that side on the Silverado, and this bend right here, it worked out perfect. Once I measured it, I was like, man, this has to fit, and I ordered it. And then once I test fitted it, it worked. I went and got it powder coated. Also powder coated the radiator fan shroud. I don't know if you can't really see it here or not. The fans are connected in there too. The relay box is right here, which pretty much supplies the engine. There's quite a bit of wires. There's a lot of reading I had to do to get this thing turned over. I actually have quite a bit of stuff that I've been having to read and put together and understand and learn to get everything working together in sequence. And the relay box, I don't know who cares for any of this information, but it is kind of boring, but I didn't know a lot of it. So off of the relay box, we have this thing called a TCC brake switch, and that pretty much goes to the switch wire on the brake. Whenever you hit the brakes, whichever light turns on the test light is where you need to put this light. And what this one does, it unlocks the converter whenever you go to stop sign, or once you're at a steady speed on a freeway, it unlocks the torque converter for better gas mileage, and it helps with the stopping once you hit the brakes. So it had a whole bunch of power leads, which all went to the battery. The gray is the fuel pump, which I'm gonna be doing next. It had one relay for the fan, and then it had a wire for the check engine light, which is the cell or the mill, which is the exact same thing, which ended up going to the control box on the digital Dakota control box. And then you have your ignition. So the ignition wire is pink off of the relay box on the standalone harness, and that also matches the one on the American Auto Wire. So I don't know if typically that's a pink wire, but pink and pink, it matched. I had a green wire for the AC, which I'm not gonna install yet. So the starter solenoid, typically on most GM starters, it has a solenoid where you connect the power and the solenoid wire, and that comes from the bulkhead. So this starter on the Gen 5, it doesn't have that. So the harness, the standalone harness, has 2 wires that are already connected to the starter, and these wires right here are what kick it off on the starter solenoid relay. So off of the relay box, you have orange and black, which ended up being the ground in my case, which it is in most cases. And then I have the yellow and the black, which is the 12 volt crank, you know, from the key switch. So it was ended up being the solenoid wire on the American wire harness, which was a purple wire. So I don't know if y'all care for that information or not, but this is what I needed to this is what I needed to get the engine to turn over. And the pedal has an electronic pedal, and then the gauges, I'm using the digital Dakota. So these mounted up pretty good. So it was quite a bit of work to get all this all together, but I got the engine to crank over. I haven't connected my fuel system yet, which I'm gonna do next. I have everything laid out over here. So I got my gas tank back from powder coat, and then the gas tank neck. So down here I have an array of things which all require assembly. So this is the Corvette fuel pressure regulator. It regulates it to 58 pounds. So you have a send and a return. This is the top of the fuel pump, which is the send and return. It should have an S and it does under the fitting. You can see it. You see the R under the fitting, return, and then it should have an S over here for send. Anyways, this other thing is for the floater. That's just a filter. That's the fuel pump. I'm running a Walbro 255, made in America. It's a good pump. I've used it before. And this is the check valve for the gas tank, you know, just in case you're filling it up, it doesn't spill gas out from anywhere. It just, the check valve keeps the gas from spewing out. And those are just screws, instructions, and then the gaskets. And then I have my PTFE fuel line. I went with PTFE because of all the new additives in the fuel. That stuff tends to eat up regular rubber. So this is more of like a plastic, and then I have all these PTFE fittings. So I'm gonna be doing that next, so I can go ahead and get the car started. I did get it turned over, and I actually got it started on accident, which completely scared the mess out of me, because I obviously didn't expect this thing to turn on, because I don't have a fuel system connected to it anywhere. But there was residual fuel in the fuel rail from whenever I took the engine out of the vehicle when I got it, and that fuel alone that was in the fuel rail started this thing up. And man, I was wiring the ignition, and you know, I was cranking it just to make sure everything's good before I took all the wires. And as you can see right there, I have open headers, and I have a 2-car garage. So I was in the car messing with the ignition, wiring it up, and then I'm turning the car over, right? And then bam, this thing it turned on, and it was stupid loud, and it scared the mess out of me, because I just didn't expect this thing to turn on. It was no fuel system. So the airbox is actually, back to the intake, the airbox is actually out of the Silverado. I had to trim it a little bit, but I was able to make that fit. And the filter is gigantic. It looks like a damn diesel filter. So this tucks in there real nice right under the box. So once I paint everything, I'll put all that back together, and then I'll show y'all how that looks. But as far as the engine goes, that's it. It's done. As far as wiring, there's nothing else that's gonna be in this engine compartment. So it's pretty clean. It's cleaner than I expected. I was thinking there was gonna be more wires than this, and I'm glad there isn't, because I don't like wiring. I don't like wiring to show. So I tucked everything as best as possible all the headlight stuff is tucked right up under here. This is my relay box right there. As you can see, the wires for the rear, I made a hole here, put a grommet, ran them up, ran them through the front right here. Did the same thing here. And then I have these power wires coming from the relay box, and then the American Auto wire harness comes down to here, and they're actually under the battery. So there's nothing up here, which I like. That's exactly what I wanted. That was the look I was going for. So these are only 2 power and ground cables. They obviously got a show there, which I'm gonna tuck those in nice and put something on the frame to hold them together so they won't just look like they're thrown like that. But the engine is good. All the wiring in the car is good. Brake lights, hazard lights, blinkers, the radio, everything is tucked away now, and it's good to go. I want to show y'all some stuff under the dash that works from this PCM, this Gen 5 computer. So I have it working with the digital Dakota gauges, and I'm going to show you how I did that. So all my lights work on the inside, on the floor. I had to take off my kick panels because I was dealing with some wiring. But here's the dash there lit up. You see it has the check engine light because I need to start it. And it has both blinkers on because the front quarters are not grounded. So once those are grounded, that actually turns off. But everything works as it should. I'm actually showing the voltmeter. Man, the volts are really low. I went ahead and put in my switch panel before I get to the stuff on the bottom. I have this last switch wired up to the sunroof. Hey, I lost you guys there for a second. Anyways, I was saying I got the switch panel on already, and I have this last wire hooked up to the last switch hooked up to the sunroof, so you can see that my battery's kind of low. But so the rest of the switches, which worry about later, but anyways, it's gonna be front, back, and then the rear back corners. So back to the Dakota stuff. Let me squeeze down here. It's not very comfortable under here. I've been having to work under here, and man, this seat has really been in the way. So here's the pedal. It's off of the Camaro, the lt1 Camaro. And what I wanted to show y'all is the control box. That's the control box for the digital Dakota. And that is connected to this little box up here, which I haven't completely mounted yet. But make it down here. Just this box. I haven't mounted it yet because it has some buttons on here that I need to press when I get the engine started. But this is a CAN bus box. So what that does, it controls the feeds for the computer. So the CAN bus has a wire that connects to the control box on the digital Dakota, and then the CAN bus goes to the OBD2 port, which I mounted right here. This is the mount for the OBD2 port, and all the readings off of the computer go through that small CAN bus box and then to the control box. I got to change all that stuff in the settings. So what it does, it allows you to read it directly off of the computer. It reads your oil pressure, your speedometer, your tachometer, your fuel, and it has some other options that are really nice. So it keeps you from having to wire up all that stuff on the engine and have extra wiring everywhere, and it gives you a really accurate read. So the control box is connected to the CAN bus, and then the CAN bus is connected to the OBD2 port, which comes off of the standalone harness on the vehicle. And then, right here, I got your pedal, and then I have it's connected right here off of the standalone harness. So the standalone harness has the connection for the gas pedal and then the OBD2 port. And all that works in conjunction with the Dakota dash. so you can get all the accurate readings on it. It has quite a bit of options. So your fuel will work, your temperature, your oil, your volts, tachometer, speedometer. It has quarter mile times, trap speeds, and all this other stuff that I probably won't be using because I'm gonna be cruising. But it has quite a bit of options. That CAN bus allowed for just a whole lot less wiring, so I'm happy for that. But everything is tucked away right here. I had actually already mounted the firewall dash pad before the pedal, and man, was that a mistake. I should have mounted that pedal a long time ago, but I just didn't know where everything was gonna land, and I wanted to get a feel for the pedal with me sitting in the car and then mounting it, so I know I was comfortable with the pedal. But if I ever have to do that again, I'm definitely gonna do that first. But mounting in the bracket for the pedal, because man, that was a mess to get everything out. That's another reason I took out my kick panels. But all this stuff, it works good. I'm happy with everything. So next is just the fuel system. And once I get the fuel system done, which I should have done hopefully in the next couple of days, I just gotta do my brakes, and then I'll be able to take this thing for a drive. So after I do that, I'm gonna take off the fenders and paint the hood and the trunk and fenders. So we're really close to putting this thing on the road. And then after I do that, I can start working on the hydraulics. So here's the emblems that I said I was gonna mount on the fender. So that's it right there. That's pretty much where they're gonna be at. So I like it. I think it looks good. So that's it for the updates. I'm sure I missed some things, but I'm working on it, and hopefully I'm gonna be painting the trunk and get the fuel and the brakes done pretty soon, and this thing will be on the road. So thanks for watching. Thanks for everybody who has subscribed. If y'all have any questions or comments, just let me know in the comment section, and I'll help y'all out. And again, thanks for watching.